Hello everyone, welcome back to Kicks on Court Weekly Recap. I'm your host George Kill, and today we have a super packed episode highlighting everything that was worn on court in representation of Veterans Day. Plus, Steph Curry sheds light on an upcoming Under Armour logo, and premier custom designer Mache dishes out on the evolution of customs in the performance world. But first, let's take a look at various sneaker tributes to the veterans. LeBron returned to his patriotic PE from last season. Dwayne Wade honored in camouflage and red, white, and blue, while Chris Paul mixed a little bit of both on his latest CP3-7. DeMar DeRozan blended camo foams with Toronto's alternates. Tim Duncan brought new Crazy Quicks out in the Spurs debut of their camo uniforms, while Ray Allen and Russell Westbrook appeared in red, white, and blue SEPEs. Under Armour provided their members with Wounded Warrior Project PEs, and even the college players paid tribute with various forms of camo. We also noticed a number of players showing their support by wearing the NBA's Stars and Stripes socks. Tony Wroten, James Harden, Dwight Howard, DeMar Carroll, and Kyle Korver. So shout out to all of the guys for showing their salutes to the veterans. Now, point guard Steph Curry may be considered a veteran on Golden State's roster, but he is the antithesis on Team Under Armour. We recently caught up with the budding star to discuss life in the anatomic spawn and a brand new logo on the horizon.
Spent a lot of time over the summer studying and being, getting familiar with, Under Armour and their product and kind of the direction that they're going. So I was really impressed with all the, talks with them and obviously the spawn, what I'm playing in this year is treat me well, so it's real comfortable, lightweight. You can get freaky with the colorways too, so it's a great shoe, and it's it just kind of shows how Under Armour is making progress. Just talking to them about their kind of creativity and the minds behind the vision, behind the brand. It's kind of just helping me get my story out. And even through a logo, being able to tell some kind of story. We've played around with a lot of them before, playing off like sharpshooter with like the scope and my initials and things like that. But you want to take your time with it because it's a big deal once you get set with a logo and be able to brand it. Thankfully, I'm best in that position. You want to do it right.
We also popped quiz Curry on his fellow brand members in regard to his position.
The other 4 point guards: Greaves Vasquez, Raymond Felton, Kemba Walker, and what did I say? Raymond Felton, Greaves Vasquez, Kemba. Oh, Brandon Jennings. So there we go. I know my Brandon. Yeah.
In addition to the Veterans Day tributes we showed you earlier, let's now take a look at who flat out surprised us. Derek Williams switched gears in the Aston Martin Kobe 5. JR returned in the 66 KD, and Durant debuted a patent leather take on his new shoe. Tony Wroten continued his hot streak in the Air Jordan 18, Cousins rocked the Terracotta Warrior, Jared Jack returned to the Black History Month KD, and Mache donned UNC 23s. In last week's Custom Corner, designer Jake Dankliffs gave us the true story behind LeBron's championship Custom Elites. In today's edition, I caught up with Mache in Central Park to examine the evolution of customs in professional sports and what LeBron James and Dwayne Wade have meant to the movement.
I really wanted to catch up with you because at the end of last year, customs became a really big part of Kicks on Court, a really big part. Do you see them carrying over into this year?
I really do, and it was crazy because before, I guess before like LeBron and Dwayne kind of approached it, it was such a, not a big thing. Like I'd seen, I'm trying to think of some other guys who had worn customs before. Gilbert Arenas wore customs, but it was like, it wasn't a big documented thing, and I don't think customs were big of a thing in the forefront of the culture and blogs and whatnot. So I think the attention already is on them more, in terms of crossing over to the court. It's cool to rock customs now. It just is. At the end of the day, you can make your own PEs and you can go on Nike ID, which is cool, but everyone can do that. So I think that going to a custom just takes that further, because people want to distance themselves and they want to have their own personality. It's like when someone came to me and said, do something crazy, I want to get fined. They're obviously trying to get their attention. They want to get their personality out there.
And how much bigger do you see them getting in professional sports? Because they've taken over the NBA, they're on NFL now.
They're crossing over. I mean, there's Major League Baseball players rocking cleats now. I mean, there's obviously NFL players. I've gotten requests for a lot of cleats, you know, for baseball and that, and also basketball. I mean, all three of them. Shoot, I would do NHL cleats if they asked me to. But you know, it's just a matter of, you know, people want to take the risk or they want to, you know, really jump on that platform if they're willing to take the fine and do it. You know, it's kind of like, how far do you want to go? And you know, it's cool, it's flattering. I'm very happy that, you know, I've made the name for myself, that people, you know, do associate me with customs and having, you know, pro athletes rocking my stuff. It's cool. Starting off, I mean, I was doing shoes, you know, obviously for rappers and whatnot, but before then, you know, LeBron was something that had actually come across a year before the Iron Man pair that everyone knew about. I was contacted to do about, like 10 pairs for the first championship for him. And you know, his people contacted me, went through his Nike people and whatever, and you know, ended up being, you know, the Olympic time, so the schedule was hectic, crazy, and ended up really never coming to happen just because, you know, schedule was nuts. So I respected it, obviously. You know, and then down the line, I made the Devastator custom, which actually LeBron had seen and reposted. Didn't know it was mine until they found it was mine. So his people was like, "Oh, we got to make a pair of those." So then, after that, then he wanted to do the Iron Man, do a one-on-one. You know, and obviously I was like, all right. And that was also a weekend, short time frame. But you know, when LeBron comes, you answer the door. You know, in terms of, you know, Dwayne, they reached out to me around the same time that LeBron had for the Ironmans. I had cross-checked a little stuff with LeBron's people to make sure the guys were cool, you know, legit and whatever. And it was all on the up and up, and it was cool because, you know, I knew about leading, I knew about the things that they were doing, and I knew that they were really trying to break out in the U.S. again using Dwayne. And you know, obviously everyone knows that, well, that follows sneaker business. You know, Dwayne had left Jordan not that long ago, then he didn't have a lean-in shoe. You know, so it was cool to be part of the beginning.
Who else has reached out to you?
Tony Roten, he was in the Grizzlies, now he's with Philly. So it was funny because the order was actually originally to do Grizzlies colors, and then he held off because he's like, I'm gonna be getting traded, so I'm gonna have to switch those colors up. So now I'm doing 2 pairs for him. Thaddeus Young, I did like 5 or 6 pairs of Penny 5s for him. You know, obviously he's the Penny 5 dude, you know, Penny's his boy. But I did a Hulk pair, an Iron Man pair, Georgia Tech pair, a Philly pair. I think I did a Galaxy pair too. So I did a whole bunch, you know, it was cool. You know, he's just like, you know, he respected the 4-month wait. He waited patiently, and you know, I would kind of pepper pictures and get him gassed up. It was fun, and he wants more stuff. So build relationship when they come back. That's a good thing, you know.
Mache also brought a few of the designs he kept for himself and shared with us his dream collab, which are 2 segments you'll see in part 2 of my discussion with him in next Friday's Custom Corner. Well, we've seen what the NBA players have worn this week. Let's now take a look at my Fave 5 of your kicks on court. Piddick Silviu reporting all the way from the UK wore the Adidas TS Bounce Commander. Jay Mason makes it for the 2nd consecutive week, this time in the Air Pippen 5, and 23 Brendan laced up the N7 KD 5. Both the Great and X-Gen paid tribute to the veterans in the LeBron 2 and the Veterans Day Way of Wade, respectively. Well, as always, keep it locked here each and every week for your Kicks on Court news. I'm your host, George Kill, and before we close, Xavier Henry and his Purple Gradient Kobe 8s take over our Heat highlight of the week. Shame to you who think this is a charge.
Kick out to Williams. They're going to have to move it on the perimeter. Instead of swinging, Xavier goes down the middle. Slam dunk. Well, tried to take the charge, but he was too far under the basket. The officials just let that one go. Time for a posterized moment.